Hello there, hello there, hello there, hello there. Welcome to a wonderful Wednesday. And today there were a bunch of ideas that I wanted to discuss with you, but this one felt like it was the best for the situation. So we're going to talk about feeling frustrated today. So this is like that regular thing that shows up in my life where if things aren't going right, I get frustrated. I get annoyed. It's like that repeat wound essentially. And I woke up feeling a little frustrated today. I'm going to have to check and see like what's going on energetically, but definitely feeling frustrated. And I was in the place, typically when I'm feeling frustrated, like I want to yell and scream, but I had passed that. I was at the frustrated phase where I just didn't want to do anything. I didn't care anymore. I was done fussing at people. I was done asking for things. As you know, as moms, we we have a lot on our plate, right? And I am definitely of the belief that it's important for us to ask for help because we're really good at doing all the things, but we don't have to do all the things all the time. And I get annoyed and frustrated when I've asked for help 700,000 times and it doesn't seem to do anything, right? Like, I can tell my kids to clean the kitchen because I love that and that's what they do when I've made dinner. And I can say that a million times over and still feel like I have to ask them to clean the kitchen. And today I was at the phase where I was done asking. I was done asking. I was annoyed. I was done asking. I didn't care any of the things, right? And I wasn't necessarily stomping around the house, but I was definitely fuming. Like in cartoons where like the smoke comes out of their ears, that's kind of how I was responding this morning. And I was doing a really great job of not taking it out on anyone, not verbalizing it, but energetically everybody could feel it. You could have cut it with a butter knife, right? That's how the tension was in the car this morning on the way to school. I was just done. And after I dropped my kids off and I got back in the car, the narration of it's not enough, it's never good enough, just continued to play through my head. And then, for whatever reason, that Wilson Phillips song, Hold On, popped into my head. And I was like, man, I haven't heard this song in forever. But it kept running, and I had heard it run in my head this morning, didn't think too much of it. But as I was driving back home, I decided to put it on in the car. And I'm listening to this Wilson Phillips song, Hold On, and I was like, oh. Because there's a line in there that says, no one else is responsible for your unhappiness. And I was like, okay, I hear you. So what do I do about it? And I sat down to journal. I was like, all right, I'm frustrated. Who am I frustrated with? And it wasn't that I was frustrated with my family. I was so frustrated with myself that I was projecting it onto my family. And this is something that I have become keenly aware of recently, because I am doing my very best to keep all of my ducks in a row and show up best for myself. And I have not been giving myself enough love. And that was very apparent this morning as I struggled to come out of this frustration state. And so I tell you all of this, not because you necessarily need to know my life story, or a full narration of what happened today, but because when we feel frustrated, when we get annoyed with those that we love, it is typically, now this is not always the case, it is typically not that we're actually annoyed and frustrated with that person, but that those people are our safe space, and that's where we take our frustration and our annoyance out, right? So I see this so often with my kids. Hello there, if you're joining me live, I would love if you said hi. So I see this so very often with my kids, where they get out of school and they've been so good at school that they just kind of unleash and like vomit all over mom. Not actually vomit, but like they energetically vomit all over mom because they've contained all of their emotions and all of their energy all day long. They've been so good for somebody else that I'm their safe space, and they just energetically vomit all over me. And I used to take this very personal. And I really started to resent picking my kids up from school because that was what I got from them when I picked them up, was this energetic vomit, and I hated it. And when I realized what was actually happening, I started to give them way more grace and not take any of the energetic vomit personal, right? Like, prime example, my 5-year-old, she lost her mind one day in the car on the way home from school, like lost her mind. And she started throwing anything that was in her reach at me as I'm driving the car. And my son, my 15-year-old son, is looking at me like, are you gonna rein this terror in, or do I need to? Like, what is going on? And I was like, we're not feeding it. Just, she's getting all of her emotion out. I'm the target. Just, we're fine. We're fine. We'll handle it when we get home. We're fine. And he was like you could see him like start to slink in the car. And he was like, is mom gonna totally lose her mind over all of this? Or like, what's happening? Like, how is this allowed right now, right? And we got home. The older kids all went in the house. And my 5-year-old is sitting in the car seat, just RBF. I mean, all over her face, right? And I looked at her and I said, are you all done? She just glared back at me. And I said, I understand that you're upset. Are you all done? And she tried to explain to me what she was upset about. Mind you, I know she was just being incredibly emotional, and she was emotionally vomiting all over me. But she does this, and then she goes, Mommy, I'm so sorry. I love you. Right? And I know that that's the flip side of this emotional vomit. It is. And all of my kids do it. It's not just my 5-year-old. It's funnier when my 5-year-old does it. It's a little annoying when my 15-year-old does it, right? But that's what we do when we're safe, when we feel safe around people, right? When we feel safe around people, they get to see kind of all of our ugliness, so to say. And we often project our feelings onto them, right? Because it feels easier. And so, and people do this even when they don't feel safe, right? Like, I know from having to call people, right? Even calling, you know, when something breaks, and what do? You call and you're annoyed and you're like, why is it wrong? Why is it broken? This is your fault. It's actually not that person's fault. You're just annoyed and you're taking it out on that person. But we do this all the time, usually unconsciously, right? Because if you knew how much of a jerk you were being to people, you probably wouldn't be a jerk to people, right? But we do. We energetically vomit all over people regularly. And we like to point the finger and say, well, you're the cause for my unhappiness, and you're the cause for my unhappiness, and you're the cause for my unhappiness, right? Back to that Wilson Phillips song this morning. You got yourself into this whole mess, right? Like, you're the only reason for your unhappiness. It's not the fact that my kids didn't clean the kitchen, or that I had to, or they laid in bed an extra 15 minutes this morning, so we were struggling to get out of the house in time. Like, I was choosing to let those things annoy me and aggravate me. I was choosing, right? Now, there are moments where I am all there and I can choose differently. This morning, it just felt powerless, right? It felt like I didn't actually have a choice, but I was actively choosing. I could have very simply relied on a bunch of my tools that I have, got a whole toolbox worth of things, right? I could have done a dance party. I could have done some breath work. I could have done a number of things to get me out of that funk. And yet I was actively choosing to be frustrated this morning. Actively choosing. And so what I really want to encourage you to do, definitely, I would love to be in here and to have a full conversation with you all and to chat with you. If you have questions, I would absolutely love to be able to answer them. So if you do have questions, comment below. But if you are struggling with this frustration, I really want to walk you kind of through a process. So if you are feeling really frustrated, one, are you frustrated with yourself on any level? Okay, that's usually where I start. If I'm feeling annoyed about something, is it my annoyance on my own personal level, right? So like the other day, I was really craving some extra love. Well, I wasn't really loving myself, and so I was seeking it from somebody else, and essentially my husband, right? I was seeking that external love from my husband in a way that he wasn't providing, and I was getting annoyed. But it was because I wasn't actually giving it to myself first. And so when you find yourself in these emotional states, when you're not feeling like yourself, check in with yourself. What are you frustrated about personally in your own life? Where are you not receiving the love that you want in your own life? Are you giving it to yourself first? Right? And I can't pinpoint exactly what I was frustrated with. Although now that I'm saying it out loud, I was frustrated by the fact that I'm not giving myself enough love. And I'm certainly not getting what I want from other people, right? Because you've got to fill up yourself first, especially as a mom. We have so many things that need our attention all the time. Not to mention if you have a business, you're working, right? It's not just home life, it's everything else. There are so many places that our energy is leaking to that it can feel really hard to keep that cup full. It can feel like you're pouring water into a colander, right? And it's never actually filling up. It's going to all these other people. And so you have to be even more intentional with yourself because your family deserves the best from you. You deserve the best from you. And to do that, you really have to give yourself the love first. This is like that repeat lesson, right? Whenever I'm feeling frustrated, annoyed, unloved, all of those things, I started to teach myself, okay, where do I need this? What can I do for me right now? And that begins to shift it. Because it all starts within. So within as without, right? You've got to come in internally to be able to change what you're looking at externally, right? And this is absolutely the work that I help my clients with, is to come back in. Come back in. Motherhood can take you out in a million places. It can feel like you're being pulled, like that Stretch Armstrong, right? Where you're being pulled and ripped apart in like all these other areas. But as moms, we really need to come back into ourselves, find our own joy, our own love, all the things. Really, as annoying and as cliche as it is, fill up your own cup first, so then you can actually pour from it and overflow it, right? So after this, and when I finish up my couple of things today, I'm going to live by example. I'm going to fill up my own cup. I'm going to draw myself a bath. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to enjoy my bath because my husband's picking the kids up from school and I'm not making dinner tonight because my 15-year-old is making dinner, so nobody really needs me to do anything for a little while. So I am fully going to live by example, draw myself a bath in the middle of the day, and I'm going to enjoy every minute of it because that will fill me up to have the energy to be with my kids and to be the best with them, right? So to recap quickly, 1, if you're feeling those frustration and annoyed, feeling unloved, check in with yourself first. How are you feeling about yourself? Right? And then give it to yourself first. You want the attention? Give yourself the attention. You want love? Give it to yourself first. Right? You deserve it. You deserve it. Okay? So, I'm sending you so much love. I hope you have an incredible rest of your day. If you found this video helpful, I would love if you would share it with anyone. And if you're watching the replay, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. Okay? Sending you lots of love. As always, be big, be bold, and be opulent. Bye, loves.